My name is Kat Kibben, and I've spent the last 15 years reading and writing about trends in recruiting. And today I want to tackle that new research from Stanford about bias in AI hiring, because I think we all knew there was bias, but there's something that's far more important to understand in this research than that simple and catchy headline that, frankly, we all kind of knew. So today I want to talk about what that report actually says and what every recruiter should know about their takeaways. So took some notes, read it over the weekend, and here's kind of the high level that you'll get after reading this report. The first is that they make the case that 90% of US employers are using AI for hiring right now. They say that 25% of Black applicants within their study of millions of applications were rejected. And specifically, that they made that analysis based on job by job surveys versus the aggregate, because those trends were not representative in the aggregate data, meaning the million jobs that they analyzed. But it was when they went job by job and started to really dig into that data. They describe an algorithmic monoculture and the problems that come with that. And frankly, that's just a fancy way of saying if everyone uses the same technology, they're using the same bias in their algorithms. And they make the case that if we do not start to analyze this data job by job and get more research, it's going to be really, really hard to make policy. At the very end, they make some recommendations for policy creation, including the fact that we do need that job level analysis, that there should be federal intervention monitoring these tools, and they need more research, which is what every researcher says. The big takeaway for recruiters is not that you're behind the game if you're not part of that 90%. And frankly, it's not that there's bias either. Like, I appreciate that we have this measured data point to prove something that we already knew was happening, that Black applicants are being discriminated against at a higher rate. But the big takeaway for recruiters, especially those of you who are thinking about your architecture and avoiding bias, is this, is that algorithmic monoculture. Meaning, if you pick one big tool and you use it for every part of your hiring process, you are actually infusing bias into all of those pieces. Historically, the big tools, the big names in HR technology got the favor because they were recognized, because they were big brands. And really, what this research is making the case is that by buying into those bigger brands, you're buying into the bias of every single one of their companies and every person who has used their algorithm. And there may be benefits in either building something yourself or really starting to separate these tools to avoid more biased outcomes. So, as a builder, as someone who's working in operations right now, or really if you're thinking about how tools can be used expansively, always consider what they're bringing to the table. Be sure to ask your vendors, who uses this algorithm? Is my algorithm influenced by other users? How? What data comes into it? And make sure when you're doing analysis to understand what bias is happening, because there's never no bias, right? When we're looking at bias, we need to go job by job. I think that was the other really big takeaway, is a valid metric in this market, in the world of AI and hiring, has to be on the micro level. The aggregate is not showing us what's actually happening. All right. If you loved this, you will love my blog. It's at threeearsmedia.com. And we publish every week research just like this, how-tos and what not to do's for recruiters who want to be more human. I'll see you there.